All right, good afternoon, August 17th, 2024. I'm Dr. Jesse Roberts. This is Joiner Die. Do you ever come across something in your day and you read that and you go, wow, that's officially the dumbest thing I read today? I feel like lately that happens every few minutes, honestly. If you just scroll through Twitter, scroll through the internet, every few minutes you might pop upon a story or a post that's officially the dumbest thing you read today. Well, this is officially the dumbest thing I read today. This is from a site called Raw Story. Rawstory.com. And apparently it says on their website they're celebrating 20 years of independent journalism. But all it seems to be is pages and pages and pages of deranged hatred for Donald Trump. And that's basically all it is. Or it's praising Kamala Harris up and down. But the majority of the stories are Trump, 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 which is how most media sites are these days, unless they're, more of a centrist or right-wing media source. But this site, so this is the actual title of an article by this Raw Story written by Kathleen Couliton. It says, dog owners should not feel safe. Columnist flags new Vance attack on childless Americans. Senator J.D. Vance used the words essential weapon to praise the Heritage Foundation president's new book, which includes a tirade against the surprising subject dog parks. This point appears in a new analysis from Salon's Amanda Marcotte, as she argued both American cat ladies and dog owners should be concerned about Donald Trump's running mate's views. Dog owners should not feel safe from the ire of Vance and his friends, Marcotte wrote Friday. Jokes aside, the fury over pets underscores what's really going on with Vance, the neo-patriarchal movement he represents. So, I cannot really fathom if this is a joke or a serious article, because the site is all it's just TDS, to the nth degree. It's just all Trump, 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 Trump. Everything on there is just sheer hatred and just total disdain for Donald Trump. And every little piece of typical propaganda about Trump that gets passed around ends up on this website. Let me continue with this this just wonderful article. Now, where was I? I forgot where I left off in this riveting article. Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts' book dawns early light, taking back Washington to save America, so its release date delayed till after the November election amid Trump world efforts to distance the Republican presidential nominee from the conservative think tank's controversial views expressed in 2025, reports show. Media Matters obtained a galley copy that includes a foreword from Vance and an attack on dog parks from Roberts, the watchdog group reports. We're now realizing that it's time to circle the wagons and load the muskets, Vance wrote. In the fights that lay ahead, ideas are an essential weapon. Among the ideas expressed by Roberts is that dog parks represent a danger to the nation's future. He targets the Swamp Doodle Park in Washington, D.C. We're having too much room for dogs to play and not enough for children, blaming this on the anti-family culture shaping legislation, regulation, and enforcement throughout our sprawling government. Roberts argued, as Vance has, that childless Americans aren't as invested in the nation's future as parents are. Getting married and having kids gives you skin in the game for the future of your country, Roberts wrote. It forces you to grow up, give up childless things. Oops, where did I go in my article? Give up childish things and live in the real world. Both Vance and his wife, Usha, I'm assuming, have since walked back his comments, arguing. Oh god, that's Vance's wife, yes. So, I don't know why I misread that. Arguing the media took a sarcastic remark out of context, and the Ohio senator's words targeted policies that make it difficult for Americans to have children, not childless Americans themselves. CNN reporting shows that Vance has repeatedly called childless Americans sociopaths. He argued Marcotte argued both men's and position on childless pet owners represents both a misunderstanding of a modern American life and a prejudice against a large block of American voters. They hide behind sentimental language about children, but the pattern shows something else. Resentment toward anything that might distract a woman from serving a man. Yeah, that's what it's about, raising babies. Someone should tell Vance and his buddies, many people have both kids and pets. Okay. Did these guys ever read the funnies growing up Charlie Brown and Snoopy lived in okay, like, oops, my camera froze. Hold on. There we go. I don't know why that does that. So with this article, and I read this, and I'm just like, it's really telling how mentally ill people have become when it comes to Donald Trump and JD Vance. Are you like seriously wrote this article? I could do this job. You could pay me and I can make up completely stupid crap that is not even like the least bit serious, but people will take it seriously. You're trying to freak pet owners out because JD Vance made a comment, or he wrote the foreword for a book, which in the book the writer criticized a dog park in DC because a dog park in DC was set more for children, or more for dogs than children. Like, that's a serious take you have. And if you spend any of your life online, which most of us do, and you spend any of your life on social media, which lots of us do, go scroll through and see what they're saying about Donald Trump and JD Vance. It's just gotten completely out of hand. It's to this point where it's just, you have to laugh at it. It's so absurd. And this article is just this is a real thing. So you genuinely think that they say that JD Vance's stance on people having families is just another ploy to get women to serve their husbands and children again? Yep, I'm sure that's what that's about. The point he always makes is people are going to be less likely to worry about investing in the future of this country if you have no skin in the game. The future of the country is going to be passed down, and the future of the country will be passed down to their children and grandchildren. I mean, I got pets. I got freaking, I got 3 freaking cats and a horse. My wife has a snake. It's her snake because I don't like snakes. And we have kids. So apparently, the right wants to go after your pets now, I guess, or the conservatives, or I just don't get, like, this is a real article. Somebody wrote this. Okay. And then I happened upon this article completely by accident yesterday. I was doing something. I pulled up, like, I think it was like Microsoft Edge or something. And you know how you get the stupid ticker of stories that roll through, and they're always extremely biased stories against Trump, pro Kamala stories. And this popped up, and I had to click on it just to really see what it was about. And of course, the line that was the funniest in there to me was it made me laugh. It was this line here about the neo-patriarchal movement. Yep. We are genuinely facing a depopulation crisis in this country, and in the world, for that matter, because what makes this even more concerning is the fertility rates are declining rapidly. And I don't know if people understand this, but children are needed too, so they can grow up and take over the world from us and run it, while simultaneously helping to take care of the elderly, because eventually you won't be able to take care of yourself. So, yep, you should just totally be all about your cat and your dog. Now, in my past life, I worked in pet supplies for a long time. I was a manager of several pet stores, district manager, etc. Before I got into, I went on and got my master's and PhD in history. I continued to morph into more like the, content creation and academics and stuff like that. So I got out of working retail because I couldn't really do the job anymore. Got old after a while, trust me. And there are plenty of people in this world that don't like other humans, and they prefer the company of dogs or cats. There are plenty of people I know that I've had experience with that would prefer to have dogs over children any day. It's very common, especially in younger generations. They'll just say, I don't want to have kids. Dogs are better than people. You hear these people have these arguments about, well, if a dog or a person was a person was hanging from a cliff, I'd save the dog. That's screwed up. That's a very screwed up priority system, but that's just something we've raised in society. We have championed like the antisocial, anti-human type thing. I just like my pets better than I like other humans. I love my pets. I do like my pets more than I like some humans in my life, but I don't think you should be shuttered in your house just only, making your pets your priority in life. Even if you have them and you don't have kids or can't have kids, you should still try to make the world a better place, right? That's what JD Vance's thing is about. He's not going after people that can't have kids, whatever. He's talking about people that are actively anti-human, anti-kid, basically, anti-reproduction, and they're trying to make decisions about the future. And in case you haven't noticed, what we really, really, really like to do in this country when it comes to economics is we want to be satisfied right now. Actually, not just economics, it's how we live our lives as humans nowadays, right? There are entire online ecosystems dedicated to making short form videos that people will watch that are 30 seconds long, 10 seconds long, right? That's just, I want the immediate satisfaction now. I don't want to sit there and watch a long form video of information. I want just that hit right now. And that's kind of just how we live our lives. If you have kids nowadays, it's especially true. It's very hard raising kids in the current climate of culture to tell them you need to work at something for a long time to get good at it, or you need to know that you're just not going to be entertained constantly and satisfied constantly. With my kids, I do not do screens at all when they're here, save for once in a while. And when they're in the outside world with friends or with relatives or something, they just want the screen. They want that entertainment. Sometimes it's like when they come back, it's impossible to get them to entertain themselves because they just want that instant gratification of being entertained and with the dopamine hit now. And it's hard too if you're trying to teach, let's say they want to learn how to learn a skill. Like let's say they want to learn how to draw. Well, it's frustrating because I'm not good at drawing right now. I mean, most little kids, that's not uncommon, even for my generation. But they would rather just give up than get good at it. As you become an adult, you realize the process of drawing and learning to draw is what's rewarding, not just being good. I recently graduated with my PhD. Writing my dissertation was a process that it was far more gratifying as it went on because I could see myself growing as a researcher and a writer and a historian. And yes, it was satisfying having the end product, but I realized that the whole point of it was the journey there. So in society, we want instant gratification right now. That goes with economics, that goes with life, that goes with this type of thing, where JD Vance's point is people don't want to invest in our long-term future. They want they want the instant gratification right now. We see this with how we just blow money economically. People want to win the political points right now by just printing that money and making people happy right now, which is what I want to transition to with my next point, which will probably end up taking up a good chunk of this video. Now, I've been railing for the last, week now. I do try to post 2 videos a day, by the way. At least one. I did miss yesterday. I have an inner ear infection. It's been pretty awful. I broke my nose back in the day. I was a hockey player and stuff, and I broke my nose, and I get this chronic sinus infection sometimes, and then I always get an ear infection, and then it affects my inner ear, and I get So sitting in my chair, I feel like I'm falling. And yesterday I could barely sit up. Happens about once a year, really bad this time of year for whatever reason. And I don't feel 100% today. So if I have to cut it short, I'll let you know, but so far so good. So yes, check out my subscribe. I'm on Spotify too if you'd rather just listen to this instead of watching it on Rumble and whatever platform you're watching it on. So moving on to economics. So last week I was railing on the whole price gouging thing. I did a video on Kamalanomics, as it was called, and it was about how basically price fixing is actually really bad for the economy, and also there's really no such thing as price gouging. It's just there are instances where price gouging occurs, and that's usually during a disaster. But it's a necessary economic force during that time too, because the way pricing works is it's relative to society, right? It's relative to the demand, it's relative to the supply, and people during disasters need to ration their supplies better, thus buying less. It's just helping them keep up with the demand, so they have to charge more. And yesterday we finally got Kamala Harris's economic plan, which, oh boy, it's a doozy. We're at a time now where I think I genuinely don't think that people in Washington know much of anything about economics, and I mean that for all levels too, including people that work in economics, like people that work in the Federal Reserve. I just have a hard time believing they actually understand how things work when they continue to dig us deeper and deeper and deeper. And so first of all, she's stealing a lot of Trump's points. This is what's fascinating to me. So I was thinking about this yesterday. Kamala Harris has taken on a more populist bent when it comes to her campaign. She was never this way before. Historically, populism is hated when it comes to the establishment. But what they're trying to do here is win over the base of Trump. And the base of Trump is a populist base. The more anti-establishment, the more us versus them mentality when it comes to like the establishment versus the people. They're trying to win this base over. That's why they picked Tim Walz as her running mate. I think she's trying to appeal to Trump voters, which they don't understand Trump voters at all. They also think of Trump voters as white males who, you know, they need like that white male masculine figure to follow and vote for. They've even written articles about this, how like Tim Walz is his just overwhelming masculinity is the reason why he's such a problem for the Republicans. Well, that's not, it's just a very shallow way of looking at things. The Democrats are obsessed with identity politics. It is what they always run to when it comes to understanding voter bases, is through irrelevant things. And instead of trying to talk about the issues that really matter, like why did she screw up the economy so bad? And if she knows what the answers are, then why not fix it now? Which she doesn't have the answers, and her tell you her economic proposals are not going to work. There's just no way that's going to do anything. And I'm going to get into that. As a historian, I'm going to get into the historical aspect of this. And so she's stealing the no taxes on tips. She's stealing the child tax credit thing from Trump, who made the tax credits, wanted to make the tax credits bigger. So she's jumping on that. She's going on this more populist thing. It's just a lie to get you to politically commit. Okay. And then the $25,000 for houses. It's interesting how the greatest economic plan from the Democrats always involves giving away money that's not yours. I always talk, I think about this all the time. I'll get these like mailers from, I'm in Michigan, so like Gretchen Whitmer. I'll get a mailer like, oh, I should vote for her because of X, Y, and Z. And it's always, well, she signed this thing giving a bunch of money to this person, and she signed this thing giving a bunch of money to that person. It's like, I have to praise you because you sat down with a pen and signed a piece of paper that gave a bunch of money that's not yours away. That's what the Democrats are doing with this. And with this plan, it's just about, I want to give you free stuff, because that's worked in the past. Giving away free stuff and offering money that's not theirs has always been a great talking point, especially from the Democrats. We saw it with Obama, we saw it with Biden with the student loan thing. All this giving you money that's not yours is always very appealing. So when it comes to first of all, I want to get into the housing thing. So we've already tried doing this before, where we've made it, far more accessible for people with lower incomes, people who are first-time home buyers to get into housing. We did this during the Clinton administration in the 90s. This is something that led to a catastrophe come mid 2000s. Okay, remember the housing bubble crash? Well, there you go. What the problem is with the housing market right now isn't that it's just impossible to get into a house. They're so expensive. They have tripled, quadrupled in prices. If you're trying to buy a house, if you want to sell a house, somebody will snatch it up right away. Good luck buying one. Like, I've looked into it recently, regretted waiting to buy, because it's like, wow, this is a great timing. You can't get into anything. It's hard to get approved for anything. I'm offering a $25,000 down payment on a house is not going to fix your economic situation going forward. It's going to make it worse. When the government starts giving away more, who's going to pay for this kind of stuff? Is it a thing where you're going to give away $25,000 to first-time home buyers, and then they're going to pay the mortgage, and then the mortgage is going to give the government that money back? Like, how is it going to work? And in reality, when you're giving away money that you don't have already, you're just asking for more inflation. And I see people all over the internet praising her up and down. People that went to, I went to the best business school in the world, and talking to me, I'm an idiot because I don't know what I'm talking about. I do, because if you want to guarantee the economy never recovers, you should meddle in it. Which means you should artificially screw with interest rates. You should give away money you don't have and you'll never get back. Then you should also print more money and fund more wars. And it's very simple. If you let the free market do its thing, yes, you will have inequality. That's just life. No matter what you do, you'll have economic inequality. But if you just let the market do its thing, it will be far more affluent for this country. People would have more opportunities to start businesses and succeed and not get crushed by the oligarchs. It's just simple. Like, you don't have to be an expert to understand that meddling in our economics is what causes economic problems. So when you're talking about the housing thing, when there's a if you go and you look up the Clinton administration, look up the financial, the economic state of the Bill Clinton administration, people raved about it at the time. I grew up in the 90s. I remember it being very affluent. It seemed like everybody had money. Everything was great. It was a great time to grow up. Culture was just great. American culture was not divisive. It was a great time to grow up. It's a very nostalgic time for most people that grew up in that time, far more than, by the mid 2000s and things like that. But eventually what happened was the Clinton administration's economic policies just led to economic failure for the Bush administration. And that's what happened with the housing crash. You were giving people money and you're giving people the opportunity to buy houses that couldn't afford them in the first place and had no business buying them. And that's when you got into the whole issue with adjustable rate mortgages and things like that. People were getting houses that didn't even have incomes sometimes, or had very low incomes. They were just getting approved. And then when it was time for the mortgage rates to readjust, it crashed our economy. Our economy was built on mortgages. That's how our economy ran for years. And that's why it's a problem now for the people that are in office, because we don't have the housing market is just not what it used to be. And young people not buying houses is very problematic for the future because, you know, government-backed mortgages, things like that, it's just a great way for them to get long-term money because it takes forever to pay your house off. You get to pay this stuff forever. And you had this issue during the Clinton administration. So to this day, Clinton's praised for his just economic prowess and how great things were, but it led to a major crash. You also have the dot-com bubble. You know, it's the typical boom-bust cycle of things when you're screwing with the economy. And now we're at this time period now where, sorry, I'm just trying to open up my mouse, bringing it back to life here. So during COVID, we tried to meddle with economics by saving the country, by printing a bunch of money that we didn't need. We could have just kept the economy open. Things would have been fantastic. And we're continuing to meddle in economics right now that we shouldn't be, but look at what Biden's doing. Biden is, oops, wrong thing. Sorry, here we go. So he continues to cancel student loan debt, which you don't cancel a debt. You're just reallocating the debt to another place. And they continue to artificially screw around with interest rates, which you're just leading to the inevitable crash again because of it. You can't continue to do this forever. And the other day, I'm trying to see if I can find the clip. I saw Biden was bragging about how, oh, come on, where is it? Sometimes I bookmark them, and other times I just post them. Let's see here. Biden was bragging about his great economy. The press needs to write about how great of a job he's done. He's done nothing. He's done nothing to fix anything. They're just here we go. They're just screwing with things to artificially F up our economy further. And that's what you're inevitably going to get. Here, let me show this to you. Finally this guy shows up again.
Has the U.S. beat inflation, Mr. President?
Yes. I told you we're going to have a soft landing. We're going to have a soft landing. My policies are working. Start writing that way, okay?
And Mr.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you so much.
His policies are working. Start writing that way. Well, your policies aren't working because all this is more Federal Reserve meddling in our economy, and they're trying to fix things for you. And what they're going to do is they're going to try to artificially lower rates again, and we're going to be back in this same situation again in the future. We're doing this over and over again. Joe Biden's policies have done nothing, and most of the the Inflation Reduction Act and stuff, it's just a cover for a bunch of other crap. It's a bunch of other stuff written in there. Even Elizabeth Warren today was talking about, well, it was a great bill because it helped the environment. One of the greatest, allocations of resources for the environment. Oh, I thought it was the Inflation Reduction Act. They lie. So I wanted to talk about this price gouging thing. Kamala Harris her big economic plan, if you want to call it that, consists of her trying to lower food costs, mainly through, I'm sorry, it looks like it's going to storm out there, by fixing prices, but no, stopping price gouging is what it's called. Price gouging is hardly possible in a free market economy. It's very difficult to do. People, if you have price gouging in some areas, people will just end up buying other things. That's how the free market works. You have a choice. You're committing corporate suicide by price gouging. If you know, unless everybody and everything gets together, it's just hard to price gouge. It doesn't really happen all that much. Natural disasters is about the only time it happens. And that's just because the market gets overwhelmed. Now, when it comes to her plan to fix prices or she wants to combat inflation through price fixing. Well, there is no definition of price gouging. So this gives her open, this leaves her open to fix, or to name whatever she wants as price gouging, I'm sure, right? That's what they like. They like vague, open-ended things so they can just go, oh, this is price gouging. This is only used to score political points and nothing else. She has no intention of fixing the economy. I guarantee you she knows nothing about economics. And even the Washington Post was saying that this is a stupid policy. You're seeing this all over the place. This will not do anything to help anybody. And, sorry, got a weird message. So they can't, this is just going to, she's not doing this out of the benevolence of government. She's not doing this because she just cares about people so much. She's trying to reach out to the populist base by thinking this is going to solve the problem. Now, it wouldn't take much. One would think our federal government would have the resources to ask some historians about this. Because I keep hearing people say, they've tried these price fixing things all over the world. They've tried them in the Soviet Union. They tried them in Venezuela. But we tried them in the United States, actually. And it was a catastrophic failure. In fact, during the 1970s, Richard Nixon tried to freeze prices because of all sorts of major inflationary problems. But Jimmy Carter is always renowned as one of the worst presidents we've ever had. He presided over a terrible economy. As far as Jimmy Carter goes, I mean, like I am ardently an anti-democrat. Okay, I just don't think the left is good at anything. I don't want them to touch anything that has to do with the economy, etc. But a lot of the, like a lot of his, why can I not think of the word? The way people feel about him based on the economy is based off of what Nixon did to the economy. His reputation, that's the word I'm looking for. Sheesh. So Jimmy Carter's reputation when it comes to the economy was like similar to Bush inheriting a fallout of Bill Clinton's administration and their economic policy. You see the same thing when it comes with Jimmy Carter inheriting a lot of what Nixon did. So let's go back to the 1970s. Let's go back earlier than that. So in the 1960s, the United States has been at war with Vietnam for several years. And so you have the massive, inflation from that, which war always causes massive inflation, especially when you're spend, because inflation is literally the inflation of the money supply. And you need to do that if you're going to keep fighting a war, especially one like Vietnam that went on forever. And then Nixon basically cancels the Bretton Woods system, which is a global gold standard for currency. So now our money is actually worthless. We can print as much of it as you want. Right? We still are in that way. Our money's not backed by anything. It is just a fiat currency. So, in the States, food prices skyrocket, as do fuel prices. Now, there's a shortage of fuel because of OPEC, because of the oil embargo, because the U.S. is aiding Israel. So some OPEC countries say we're not going to give oil to the United States anymore, and other countries that supported Israel. And then you have the food prices. There's several reasons why food prices went high. It was because of like unusual weather patterns at that time. You had droughts in some spots. You had too much rain in others. It was a bad year. So 1971 is when the Bretton Woods system gets cut. But it's also the year that Nixon decides we have to do something. We have to go in and fix prices. So let me see if I can find my. Sorry, I want to get years right here for you because I did write all this down. Let me search my doc here. Forgive me. Must be up on the wrong doc. Okay, this is the right one. Got it. All right. So, also, not only do you have the wars and the Bretton Woods thing, but what did Johnson do? Well, Johnson created a welfare state, the Great Society, right? This is a thing that cost us tons of money. And so what he does is, when he cancels the Bretton Woods system, he knows inflation's about to get worse. So he decides to put a 90-day freeze on wages, prices, and rent. And this is, in a peacetime situation, the first real rent controls in our history. So then he sets up a price commission and a pay board to kind of determine what to do after that. So we can permanently fix things so prices go, prices are affordable for Americans everywhere. Here's a little clip I wanted to show you of Nixon, 71. Somebody I'm learning a lot about lately. Fascinating time in our history. And it's a very interesting figure to me. I'm not saying he was a good person or a great, president or anything like that, but he's something, it's an interesting thing. They called him like the imperial president because he would basically just do what he wanted. He would hide behind his presidential duties and get away with not informing Congress of what was going on and stuff. Interesting stuff. But here is his announcement of the price freeze. So I just picked it up right where it starts, right where he talks about the price freeze.
Must do better than that. The time has come for decisive action that will break the vicious circle of spiraling prices and costs. I am today ordering a freeze on all prices and wages throughout the United States for a period of 90 days. In addition, I call upon corporations to extend the wage price freeze to all dividends. I have today appointed a cost of living council within the government. I have directed this council to work with leaders of labor and business to set up the proper mechanism for achieving continued price and wage stability after the 90-day freeze is over. Let me emphasize two characteristics of this action. First, it is temporary. To put the strong, vigorous American economy into a permanent straitjacket would lock in unfairness. It would stifle the expansion of our free enterprise system. And second, while the wage price freeze will be backed by government sanctions, if necessary, it will not be accompanied by the establishment of a huge price control bureaucracy. I am relying on the voluntary cooperation of all Americans.
All right, so I know the quality isn't the greatest, but you see what happened there. Now I got this video here. This is just the reaction here.
Sergeant, what is your reaction now 48 hours after the president's announcement?
Well, I think if he'd followed up with the consumer products and freeze the prices on them along with the labor and the rent situation, well, we'd be on an equal basis and it'd be fine.
The reason that I don't think it'll work is because of the economical aspects of our foreign trade.
Well, I thought it was very good, and I know it was long overdue, and it was something that's well needed. I think Mr. Nixon is a good man. He just had time to work his program out.
Sir, what is your reaction to the president's economic message?
I think it'll work. I'm glad he finally has done something. I think he's needed to do something in a while, and his previous outlooks on it have not worked. It's been proven. I think this will do some good, and I hope it doesn't go any longer than the 90 days.
I believe it was the right thing, because I believe it'll stop some price increases for a little while. You know, hopefully they'll extend it.
All right, so you got to hear this is just the public reaction after, and what happens is it's very politically popular for Nixon. In fact, Nixon was the most popular president in history. He was one of the first presidents to, I mean, if you look at the electoral college map of when he got reelected in, I think it was at 72, he won every state but Hawaii. And so what do you think happened with this? Do you think that the price freeze lasted just 90 days? I can go ahead and tell you, spoiler alert, no, it didn't. This continued, and it spiraled out of control to the point where he continued to freeze prices, especially when it came to food. And what's fascinating is, what was going to happen was Nixon decided that he was just going to hang on to the price commission and pay board and control prices until, after the 72 election, which, like I said, most popular president ever, and then in 1973, he has to freeze prices again because food costs are too high. Now, if you really want something fascinating, go back and watch. I'll show you a little tiny blip of this. But, oops, I keep clicking the wrong browser. I keep Brave open and I keep this open. Now, that was in 1971, the first clip, and then this is the clip of Nixon in 73 talking.
There's one great problem that rightly concerns every one of us, and that is, as you know, rising.
So before you listen to this, though, please listen to how he talks about the economy. It's very reminiscent of like how Biden talks about the economy. Everything's great. Everything is just so great, except for the fact that it's not great.
Prices, and especially rising food prices. By the end of last year, we had brought the rate of inflation in the United States down to 3 4/10%. That gave us the best record in 1972 of any industrial country in the world. But now, prices are going up at unacceptably high rates. And the greatest part of this increase is due to rising food prices. This has been caused in large measure by increased demand at home and abroad, by crop failures abroad, and, as many people in various areas of the country know, by some of the worst weather for crops and livestock that we have ever experienced. But whatever the reasons, every American family is confronted with a real and pressing problem of higher prices. And I have decided that the time has come to take strong and effective action to deal with that problem. Effective immediately, therefore, I am ordering a freeze on prices. This freeze will hold prices at levels no higher than those charged during the first 8 days of June. It will cover all prices paid by consumers. The only prices not covered will be those of unprocessed agricultural processed products at the farm levels and rents. Wages, interest, and dividend will remain under their present control systems during the freeze. Now, the reason I've decided not to freeze wages is that the wage settlements reached under the rules of Phase 3 have not been a significant cause of the increase in prices. And as long as wage settlements continue to be responsible and non-inflationary, a wage freeze will not be imposed.
So this went through 4 phases, and it continued to do this, kept having to freeze prices and stuff, and it caused a lot of issues, especially for farmers who are raising livestock and chickens. They couldn't even, with the rate of inflation and everything, food prices had to go up, and it was not economical anymore for them to raise their animals because they had to feed them, and it was too expensive to feed them. They were not making any money. Now Nixon is just it's such a weird thing to me, because you watch that video and you're like, this guy was he was one of the most beloved presidents at the time, and like, you know, he was known for being a ruthless politician, and he was relatively well liked, and he knew how to play the game. He knew how to get the media you know, he would concoct the media in a way to give him a narrative about him that was positive. But like, look at him, he's just like this, I don't know, average looking dude who just talks like this, and that was really popular. It's just weird. It's a weird thing when you think about Nixon, but Nixon's fascinating character. Probably had imagine some of the deep dark stuff that guy knew. I can only imagine some of the deep dark stuff that guy was privy to and a part of. Now Nixon, like all presidents, probably know and were responsible for many heinous things, but yeah, Nixon was just so there you see it. We already tried the price fixing thing, and it was such a disaster. It carried on into the Carter administration and beyond until around, you know, the time of Reagan. But it doesn't take much to look back on history. You should be able to find a nice economic historian around and ask them, hey, what happens if we do this? Oh, we've done that before, and it was a catastrophic failure. And what happened so people, not only were they killing they were literally drowning chicks, slaughtering, you know, slaughtering all their cows, even the ones that were just used for breeding, and dairy cows, because it was like, well, it's not even worth it. And then you're going to cause major shortages that way. They are playing with fire here. And do you think that if they get to that point, they will have the economic solutions to pull us out of that spiral? No way. It's not going to happen. They have no capability, and they have no real plans on how to do any of this. Yeah, it just, and if you really want to get into it too, it didn't just have to do with food prices. There was all sorts of price controls on petroleum, and the economic policies were a disaster. But Nixon was very popular, and part of it was his economic policies and the things that he was, you know, you saw that video. Everybody, oh, this is great, this is fantastic. But we can't think about the repercussions in like the Jimmy Carter administration is probably one of the most depressing time periods in our history, probably comparable to a Biden presidency. And they weren't spending anywhere near the money we are now. I mean, look at the budgets. What do you think a Kamala Harris budget will look like when they're going to have, I'm sure they'll try to find some federal way to overcome price control, you know, the economic issues from price controls, and that'll cost more money. And I'm sure they'll have a way to, you know, some federal way to pay for this supposed housing. And it's just like, it'll be this vicious cycle forever. And how is it that people are excited about her running? I don't know. But 1971, Nixon freezes prices. 1973, freezes prices again. And he called that, what's it, phase 3. There was phase 1, 2, 3, 3.5, and 4. I don't know why it was 3.5, but I've been doing a lot of research on this. It's fascinating. I got pages of notes here. I want to do a whole video just on this, but oh, lightning out my window. About to hear thunder. Maybe? No. If it's thunder, it'll stop. There was thunder a minute ago. But Must be pretty far away if I heard thunder yet. There we go. Yeah, dude. Who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love thunderstorms in the summer? Especially when I get to be in here and not out there. No thanks, man. I've been around people getting struck by lightning. I'm good. So yeah, you're talking about, did that not sound like Joe Biden talking? Like, oh, everything's great. Inflation's down. People are better than ever. They just can't afford anything. It's just, we're reliving history. And it's not going to change. And they're not going to solve your problems. They're trying to appeal to you just to get your vote, to get them in the White House, and after that, they will tell you to F right off. What will happen is they'll go up to do this $25,000 housing credit thing, and people will vote no on it. You also have to realize fiscal policy is very, very hard to vote on when it comes to from the federal level. I mean, you're talking like, usually it's always going to come down to like that, the split in the House and the Senate. There'll be tie-breaking votes, usually like what Kamala Harris has been, the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act. But you'll come to a point where it's very, very hard to pass legislation like that. And Nixon was really good at surpassing the law to do so. And that's kind of what, you know, after his whole thing with Watergate, which is, Watergate was nothing compared to like what presidents get away with today. But when it came to that whole ordeal, it was afterwards they tried to reel in the power of the president, because Nixon was just so, he was so autonomous when it came to the stuff he did. Just like this, you know, I'm just going to do this. I don't care what you say. And it was a disaster. And Kamala Harris doing this will be a disaster. Because I can only imagine, oh, big thunder out there. The only reason why, you know, she's doing this is just to get your votes. So, all right, well, watch out for the deranged people out there. Have a good Saturday. Don't get struck by lightning. Also, if you could please subscribe to my channel, like it, share it, and onward. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great Saturday afternoon. Stay safe.